He's the host of the Pete Thompson Show, Saturday mornings at 8 on 97.3 ESPN. It's usually Tuesdays with Thompson, but PT was unavailable yesterday. But he is back for his regular Tuesday with Thompson segment here on a Wednesday as the PT joins us on 97.3 ESPN, the Boardwalk on the Hotline. Peter!
Michael, how are you? I'm actually still at work today. You know, based off of all the work they gave us yesterday, PT has to catch up, you know, because I had been sick last week and missed a couple days of school. So, yeah, I'm, you know, not only did I have lengthy meetings yesterday, I'm now catching up on all the stuff that I missed from, you know, previous. I'm working my butt off over here.
All right. Well, we got a lot we want to dive into here, including some sports conversation that our listeners yearn for. But first, one, thank you for calling me Saturday. I don't really have much of an update. I know that you went through something similar. Now, I haven't been able to get to the urologist here. However, all my symptoms have seemingly gone away, so I'm feeling good about that.
That's fine, you know, and that does happen sometimes. You know, I mean, it could, you know, it could be a mild thing that works itself out and resolves itself. But yes, I felt the need to check in on you, and then when you told me, you know, what was going on, I was, you know, a little stunned, to be honest with you. And I kind of actually, I didn't forget you were going to Baltimore, but I didn't think.
Yeah, we were supposed to go to Baltimore, and when I told my girl what was happening, she nixed that trip, and I was not happy.
Yeah,
and
well,
funny, the nurse at the hospital, she was like, "You don't seem too thrilled to be here."
Who would be? I mean, you know, generally, unless you're expecting a baby, right? That may be the only time where you're like, "Woohoo!"
Even then.
Yeah, I remember my sister had her first son on a day that the Eagles were playing the Cowboys. And I was like, do I have to be there?
I'll see him on his first birthday.
There are certain life events you really should show up for.
Yeah, well, I was there, and the game was on, and it was a bad game. They lost like 19-0. It was terrible. But you know, I do remember that vividly.
It's funny you mentioned that, but the game being on, because, you know, my first kidney stone,
It's like your children.
My first kidney stone. It hadn't passed along, and I was up at Atlantic Care Galloway, and of course at the time I lived in Margate, so that was kind of a hike. And I was out there, Atlantic Care Galloway. I'm in the ER. You know, they're going to like do some more tests or something. And I vividly remember watching the Flyers game on the TV in like the ER room that I was in, thinking like, you know, hey, this is a pretty nice room. Like,
yeah, I watched Manchester City against Everton. That's what game I had on.
And you were told, yeah, Flyers were, you know, that's a little bit more my wheelhouse.
That's the only channel the hospital had.
No, they actually, I was going back and forth, but then I was like, wait a second, I put a 16 parlay in, and if this game wins, I'm going to hit all 6. My girl actually got there. She was like, since when are you watching soccer? And I was like, well,
since now.
Yeah,
let's go.
Scratch on it. You know who's addicted to the Premier League is one Hunter Broads.
Yeah, he was all excited. In fact, Everton is his team.
Even in my despair, or my, like, you know, not 100% this last Saturday where I was still coming off my illness, I actually got to the station before him. And when he came in and dropped his stuff down, and I looked over and he said to me, "Did you turn on that TV?" And I said, "Yeah." And he says, "And you put it on Premier League for me?" And I said, "Yeah, man, I know what your habits are." And he's like, "Oh, thanks."
That's cool. All right, Peter Thompson, we got a couple things we want to dive into. First off, there's this article about Andy Reid wearing the tighty whities, right?
He finally did? No. Oh, no, the tights. That's what I was starting with. Remember when Terrell Owens wanted him to wear the tights if he had a certain number of catches?
Yeah.
Good call by you.
Now, Ryan suggests that he couldn't imagine seeing Reid wear the boxer shorts. And I said, well, wait a second. The PT is a hardcore boxer wearer. He said, how do I know that? I said, do you ever golf with Pete Thompson? In the middle of the round, he just drops the trousers down to tuck the shirt in, and you've got
the retuck.
Yeah.
I've heard that's his go-to move,
retuck,
but I've never seen it. I've never witnessed it.
Yes, and
well, I mean, I do try to be discreet. You know, the problem with the retuck is that the retuck move and the urination move are so close to each other that I've often caught other people in the group like, what the heck are you doing, man? Like thinking like I'm just gonna whiz right there on the tee box or something. And you know, I've long felt that most golf courses, as long as you're out of view, is it's a boys' bathroom, right? Wherever you can aim it, you can go. That's fine. But the retuck and the actual going are very similar. So yeah, poor Gil has probably had to see it because he's in the cart. I'm usually fairly discreet.
PT, how is the retuck and going to the bathroom so similar?
You got to unbutton your shorts. You got to unbutton your pants.
I know, but
right. Button
PT's still the guy when you walk into a public bathroom and he's got the trousers down by his ankles and he's standing there.
That is not true, sir. That's not how I got.
Washing his hands, it's still down by his ankles.
Yeah. So I said I can see Andy Reid wearing a similar boxer short as the PT.
Well, I guess. I mean, listen, I've been trying to transition into some boxer briefs,
Ooh, that's a big transition. How's it going?
Strong move.
That is a big step for me. Well, Gil likes Seinfeld, so he knows, my boys need a house, Jerry, right? It's too free, it's too loose. But
now that transitions us right into something here.
Depending on what my activity is. I think I told this story on the air before, Gil. I rode a horse once.
Wait, what?
Tidy whities.
Well, back this story up.
Let's start from the horse.
Yeah. Once. I'm sorry. That's not true. I rode the horse in boxer shorts, and people thought that I had saddle sore. I had literally chafed my bum because it wasn't like I was bruised from the bouncing of the horse. No, the shorts the boxer shorts I wore was a mistake.
That's a free vasectomy.
Giddy up.
So you led us into a nice thing here, Peter, and yesterday we talked here. So coming up, you are a fan of the Atlantic City Beer Fest, right?
Yeah, sure. That's one of my go-to things, although last year was the first time in the history of the AC Beer Festival that I wasn't there.
Well, the same group that brings you the AC Beer Fest, we've partnered up with for this Witchcraft Craft Beer Festival at Lake Lenape coming up October the 19th, and we're going to be going as a show. So yesterday we were deciding what is the theme of the Halloween costume. Now, I said we would invite Pete Thompson to be a part of the theme. Now, I automatically said Pete will decline the invitation and come up with some excuse as to why he won't or cannot go.
Look, I'm gonna tell you right off the bat, I do not like to get dressed up in Halloween costumes anymore. That is not a thing that I do. However, I will more than happily be a part of this, provided you're allowed to let me do one thing.
Yeah.
All I have to do is grab one of the coach's whistles out here. Hey, coach, can I borrow your whistle for a day or two? Or can I get a whistle? Sure, fine. Then I get there, put the whistle in my mouth. People are like, you didn't dress up. Blow the whistle. Yeah, what am I? I'm the whistleblower. Bang. Topical, easy, and I can drink beer.
Well, we are trying to come up with a theme for the show.
Denied.
All right? So one of the themes that we thought might work for this group would be a Seinfeld theme where Ryan could be Kramer, Jeff could be Jerry, I could be George, and you could be Newman.
Oh, sure, I'll be Newman. Well, I guess I got to have glasses. What else do I have to have?
Yeah, like a postman uniform.
Be a mailman.
So I'm going to borrow somebody's postal uniform?
I'm sure there's a postman. We're listening to this show right now that would be more than happy to let you borrow his outfit.
I mean, that's an option. You could also go buy one.
That's a federal offense, brother. The mail. You can't impersonate a postal worker. In fact, not only that, do you know that the postal workers, most of them don't even wear the uniform anymore?
Yeah, they get away with wearing some other things. But so the question that we've been mulling back and forth is, will the PT be there at the Witchcraft Beer Festival?
What's the date?
Saturday, October 19th.
Well, damn, I don't have any conflict yet, so yeah, I guess I'm going to be there.
Yet is the key word.
All right, well, we're giving away tickets on the show. We're excited. We're all going. We're gonna dress up as a theme, and we're gonna have listeners sample the craft beers with us, and this is gonna be a fun day, Peter.
All right. I can't say
you
no.
You sound
now.
really fired up. About it.
So now you've heard his answer.
More excited.
What is your prediction?
I don't think he'll be there.
No. I said to Ryan, you've heard his answer. Yeah. What is your prediction?
If I was a betting man, wink, wink, I would say that he's not going to go.
No, I'll go. I just may not find a Newman uniform. What's the time, too?
6 to 10.
Oh,
6 a.m. to 10 p.m.
That's a Saturday, Pete.
No. Right. It doesn't matter that it's Saturday. You got to understand, every night, unless I drink another monster the second one of the day, I'm out. As soon as I eat, and by the way, I eat at 5 or early bird specials, 4:30. I'm like a senior citizen now.
Well, I'll throw another.
Not on that day, my friend.
I'll throw another thing to get you excited, Peter. Free beer.
Well, I do like that.
All right, listen, next week we'll be giving away tickets to the Witchcraft. This event's going to be awesome. We got to come up with a costume idea for the show, and Pete Thompson has given us his word. He will be a part of it now.
He's shaking his head over there.
I'm in.
All right.
I mean, look, you did it real well. You got me all telling stories about boxers and briefs, and then whammo, I'm committed. I don't know how it happened.
All right. So, couple things. Are you annoyed at the Phillies with what's going on right now?
I'm very perturbed because I cannot go to Twitter on the school computers because, God forbid, you're surfing you can't go to Facebook, you can't go to Twitter, you can't go to things like that. So I'm every so often, I keep telling the kids to stay off their phones, and then I've got my phone out checking Twitter, hitting refresh, trying to find something. And not only am I annoyed by it, Mike Gill, I'm wondering, is it one of because I saw your tweet earlier about will you be satisfied if it says oh yeah, we're moving on from Andy McPhail, everybody else stays? Or I believe that was the gist of your tweet.
No,
I would be annoyed by that.
What if they just put out a press release that says Andy McPhail and the team have decided to part ways?
Everyone else stays.
Yeah, and everybody else stays.
That's not enough. I mean, that's not enough. I mean, the only thing that's giving me peace and comfort is clearly they're moving parts. The Joe Girardi doesn't have a new job yet. Joe Madden doesn't have a new job yet. Teams are still trying to, reach out to agents and find out who's the fit. And I know where they're leaning, but nothing has become official yet. So maybe there's some grand plan that they're working on. Or maybe, like me, they're waiting to see what those other moves are and say, oh, well, we're going to keep it status quo, or no, Gabe's got to go.
What would you like to see happen, PT? Because it's such a tricky situation. I said this earlier in the week, last week. If they fire Kapler, if they fire Klentak, it seems like they have no direction because they've come out on multiple occasions this year and last defending Kapler, defending Klentak. So it could seem like an overreaction move to try and please a fan base. If they don't do anything, we all know what would follow that. How do you, go through all that?
I mean, I look at it this way, and I keep, until he's hired in Anaheim, for example, or until he's hired somewhere else, Joe Madden is a guy that I think would be a good fit because I think he blends, Gil and I interviewed on radio one time. I'm not in love with Buck Showalter, right? If that's a guy that ends up here. But really, there's a whole group of people out there that's the ABG group. Anybody but Gabe, right? They'll take anybody but Gabe. That's how pissed off they are with Gabe Kapler and his managerial style. But, Rome wasn't built in a day, and the Phillies' philosophy is more than Gabe. And that's why Lauber's article was so good, where it's hey, you can blame Gabe all you want, but the people above him aren't hitting any, talent scout home runs either. So I look at it like this. They have to make some sort of change, whatever the change is. And that's probably why it's taking so long.
But what if it's just McPhail?
Yeah. It's a change. I mean, is it the one? It's not going to put more butts in the seats, but it would be a change. At least it would show me something that somebody in there recognizes, a.k.a. John Middleton, that the course that they are on is not the course that the organization needs to be on.
Well, that's the thing that's interesting because Middleton was this popular figure. He's the guy who got on the plane. He got Harper. He was sitting there with Harper. So it almost feels like he's the guy who has to make, this popular decision again. And now it's a little disappointing that we're all kind of waiting. He hasn't come out and said, hey, these guys are going to be back. Or it's he doesn't want to be the bad guy, so he's hoping that it gets swept under the rug.
Middleton's hoping this gets swept under the rug because this isn't going anywhere.
Well, we're saying No, go ahead,
every
Pete.
single day that we're waiting, it's not going anywhere. I mean, there's going to be something. You know, they didn't give him the dreaded vote of confidence. They didn't do that. They certainly haven't extended him. He's got one more year left on his deal, but they fire a lot of people that have time left on their deal.
All right, so I have two questions for you real quick, PT. Number one, this is a serious question. I asked this to Mike and Moshe earlier. What does Andy McPhail do? That's the first question. And number two,
okay,
rank these gentlemen in order for most to blame, least to blame for what has transpired on the diamond the past year or two. Klentak, Kapler, McPhail.
Klentak, Kapler, McPhail. Let me give you that one first.
Okay.
The biggest blame that I give for what has happened on the diamond, right? I actually would give that one to Klentak first because he assembles the pieces, right? But followed closely behind by Kapler, okay? And then that leads into your next, so then I put McPhail 3. What does McPhail do? I have no godly idea. You know,
Exactly.
when McPhail got hired by the Phillies, right, when he came to join the Phillies organization, I was actually in San Diego on a vacation with my lovely girlfriend, and she is not a morning person, and actually I'm not either, but with the 3-hour time difference, you know, me getting up at lunch was actually breakfast out there, right? So, you know, I would go in the morning and get breakfast by myself, and I walked, and then I'd bring her something back, and I was walking to a place called the Broken Yoke, and there's Frank Kopenbarger and Andy McPhail walking back from breakfast, and Frank introduces me to him, and I said, you know, welcome to the organization. Good luck. Like literally that first year that Andy McPhail was around. And from that point on, I remember thinking like, McPhail, yeah, Lee McPhail, his dad was in baseball. What the hell does this guy do? Like, we still have really, I mean, clearly he's well respected around the game. He's supposed to be some sort of talent evaluator, but I don't know what he does.
Neither do we.
It is one of the more interesting things because, like, I've read people, like, some people like, okay, it's Klentak, he's the problem. Kapler, he's the problem. It's like it's almost like the process, anti-process. Like, it's 50-50. Some people think it's the GM. Some people think it's the manager. There is no, like,
definitive
consensus
answer.
of no way. It's
well,
this
and I
guy.
noticed you didn't include Middleton in there because he's not going anywhere. But Middleton is the one that.
Yeah, but
like,
do you remember a time?
about
Do you remember a time where the fans were like, "I want them to sell the team"? Like, I don't feel like Philly fans look at the ownership group as the problem.
Well, no, but they used to.
I feel like they know that Middleton.
They used to feel that way when there wasn't a definitive owner. That's why Middleton seizing control of the team and trying to. Because remember, for years. You know, in the Schmidt years, Carlton years, Pete Rose, you know, all that, when the Carpenters sold the team, from that point on, like in the 93 team, you know, Bill Giles was the face of the Phillies, but you really had this, like, group, you know, and that's why they were always so vilified because, you know, if you're going to go up and complain to your boss, but you have no idea who your boss is because there's really 10 or 12 of them, who do you go complain to?
Yeah, what was their name, like the something 7 or something like that?
Yeah, but it was like Betts Management. One was the Betts family. I know that.
Bucks.
Buck. Well, no, Buck is a different family, but like there was a name for the group.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens with the Phillies.
Clearly didn't leave a lasting impression on us.
We'll see what happens with the Phillies. Pete Thompson. Now the Flyers open on Friday. Okay.
Yes, 2:00.
2:00. My question is, and I heard Kevin Durso say that they have not announced a goaltender yet. Are you surprised by that?
Nah, they're just trying to play, you know, that's just hockey tinkering, you know, upper body, lower body kind of thing. It's going to be Carter Hart. There's no way it's not going to be Carter Hart.
Well, that's what we were talking about earlier. When I heard him say that, 100%. I was like, wait a second. How could Hart not have won this? You know, it's like.
He absolutely has won the job, and it's going to be him. That's just, you know, let's keep it close to the vest, and, you know, there's no reason that we have to tell, so we're not going to tell.
What type of expectations or potential pressure is on good old Claude Giroux?
Well, you know, I mean, I put more pressure on Vigneault as the new coach to, like, see a difference, and they always get off to slow starts, you know. I look at Giroux as a guy that, you know, he actually got better once they moved him out of the center position and moved him over to the wing, you know. And I'm sure you saw Marcus's piece up there, Ryan. Marcus Hayes wrote a big piece about whether Claude would be a Hall of Famer or not. And, you know, Mike Gill and I have spent entire segments of, is he a Hall of Famer or not? And, his numbers would say that he's Hall of Fame worthy. But, it's when you don't actually hoist the cup, then that takes away from it. And, there are guys in the Hall of Fame that never won a Stanley Cup, but boy, you'd really like to see Claude Giroux, go out and be because that's the thing. When Peter Laviolette said Giroux was the best player in the world, and by the way, that was 7 years ago that he made that statement against Pittsburgh in Game 1. Once Peter Laviolette said that, then the expectations of Giroux went through the roof. I mean, he's only one guy, for God's sake.
Yeah, well, he's been one guy and hasn't been able to be the guy who has taken this team past the first round of the playoffs since he has really been the guy on this team. While we're on that subject, Pete Thompson, what is your expectations? We were talking about this earlier. Like, what are the Flyers' expectations this year?
They're still in the Metro. The Metro's still tough. That's the problem. I mean, I think they'll make the playoffs.
You believe they'll make those playoffs?
I do think they'll make the playoffs. I think they'll make it as a wild card team. I don't think they're going to, win the division or anything like that, but I think they can sneak in as a wild card team. And, quite frankly, the other thing too is, they have had this pattern of every other year they seem to get in the playoffs. Even when Hack was here, they got in one year, they didn't get in the next year, right?
All right.
And the record was just about the same. So I do think they'll make the playoffs. But that said, I can't predict injuries or any other stuff.
Yeah.
I think they're barely a playoff team, and so that means that they need to continue to grow their talent. I mean, that's the thing, and then you see these guys. You see a guy like Morgan Frost, who's supposed to be the future, and then he has a groin injury. So he would have been on the team, maybe breaking out of training camp, isn't going to be on the team. Or the biggest one that just breaks my heart is Nolan Patrick. The guy was never going to be like a true number one, number two talent, but good Lord, he would have been a serviceable NHL player if he could stay on the ice. And he's got this series of migraines or whatever the heck it is, and he just can't hit his potential.
PT, we've talked about this in the past, the three of us, the two of us, you and MG. The Flyers fan base is loyal and dedicated, and really
their patience is running thinner, though.
That's what I'm getting at. Is this a year that could be a make or break year for season ticket holders, for the diehard Flyers fans? Like, their patience is running thin, like Gil said.
Oh, it's almost worn out, And I mean, the biggest indication that they had last year was, you could get seats the night of the game for just dirt cheap. I mean, it was, and the fans spoke with their wallets, and they spoke by not showing up. I mean, they were doing everything they could with camera angles and whatnot to not show how empty the building was. Okay, and that said, fans realized that. Look, you use 8 goalies in a regular season. That was the biggest problem. Ron Hextall overestimated what he was going to get out of the goalies. Plus, he tried to keep Carter Hart down because he didn't want to push the rookies up. And then they ended up using 8 GD goalies. You're not going to do that. I mean, I only think, look, Hart's going to get the majority of the work. Elliott will be the backup here and there. And then, if one of those guys is down, you might see a couple Alex Lyon here or there. And that's it. 3 goalies instead of 8 goalies. But what are the expectations? Are the fans wearing thin? Yeah, I think so. And if they get into the playoffs, plus, okay, there's a couple things that we remember. Alain Vigneault always makes teams better, or he traditionally has always made teams better when he joins them. So if that trend continues, and then Chuck Fletcher's trend continues, which is he likes to make moves at the trade deadline and get aggressive, right? So he's not going to pull that Andy McPhail card where he goes, if we do, we do. If we don't, we don't. No, Chuck Fletcher's going to go out. He's going to make a move, right? Especially if they're in the hunt. Unless they absolutely are dead in the water, he's going to make moves to try. Because that's the thing. In hockey, you get in. It doesn't matter if you're the 1 seed or the 8 seed. You get in, and then you try to get hot.
Pete Thompson's host of the Pete Thompson Show, Saturday mornings at 8 on 97.3 ESPN. By the way, one Billy Schweim sends me a text and says they're not making the playoffs. So he disagrees with you.
All
you
right,
guys can fight about that on Saturday. By the way, on Saturday when you do their show, you're going to be recapping the Flyers opener.
Yeah, that'll be fantastic. And I don't have to stay late to watch it. They got a brutal schedule.
You're gonna miss. You're gonna miss the game, Peter. Friday at 2.
Friday at 2. No, I'm at. Well, I'll put it on in the room, and then I'll go do my bus duty, and I'll come back.
Okay.
There you go.
Saturday morning, 8 o'clock, Pete Thompson show. Producer Hunter Brody. Those guys, a lot of hockey knowledge between the two. That leads you into the locker room with Billy Schweim. And, of course, Nick's got the countdown to kickoff, and Rutgers will get their asses kicked again on Saturday.
Yeah, Nick had a nice tutorial for me to explain to me because, he's like, you realize that the Countdown to Kickoff show is about all college football.
That's right.
Because I looked at him, I kind of off the air when I was leaving last week, and I said, God, Nick, Rutgers sucks. And he's like, the show is not about Rutgers, right? And I'm like, yeah. And you know how when I get caught in the BS gill, I always just try to laugh my way out of it. He's like, you obviously don't listen to the show. You have no idea what the show's about. And I was like, well, they still suck.
You weren't wrong.
All right, Peter. Oh,
all right, Michael.
One final question.
All right, man.
At the Halloween party, if you are Newman,
Going to Newman.
yeah,
Newman,
right?
Sure.
That's your
I don't know.
You're
You're
get
going to
up.
help me with the costume, right?
Yes, we're all
Absolutely.
in. But if you have another idea for a group, let us know.
Okay.
All right, see ya.
See ya.